Charlie McAvoy and Matt Grzelcyk have been reunited on the Boston Bruins' top defensive pair in advance of tonight's game against the Buffalo Sabres, and it's probably for the best. That and more on today's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Boston Bruins, the daily show where we discuss all things Spoke to Be, as well as take a look around the NHL. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and today is Wednesday, November 24th. The Boston Bruins playing the Buffalo Sabres tonight. We're going to tee up that game, as well as, take a look at what's going on around the NHL. Before we get into all that, a quick thank you for making Locked On Boston Bruins your first listen every day. We are free and available on all podcast platforms, so please do smash that subscribe button. Not too hard, or you'll hear from the Department of Podcast Safety. Also available on YouTube, so you can subscribe there and catch the podcast in video form, as well as drop some comments directly that I'll respond to and get some conversation going there. If you're on Twitter, you can follow the podcast at Locked NHL Bruins. It's the same handle on Instagram. And you can find me, my dad jokes, hockey tweets at Ian C. McLaren. So the 9-6 Boston Bruins in Buffalo to take on the Sabres here on a busy night in the NHL with no teams in action tomorrow. I believe there's 11 games or something like that tonight. And head coach Bruce Cassidy has decided to go back to a familiar pairing on the top of Boston's defensive depth chart. Matt Grzelcyk will reunite with Charlie McAvoy. Derek Forbort shifting down to team up with Brandon Carlo, and then Mike Riley and Jakob Zboril will remain as Boston's third pair. Connor Clifton remains a healthy scratch due to the emergence of Zboril over the last few games. Cassidy said following practice on Tuesday that Grizz and Charlie have played well together. The only guy Forbort hasn't really partnered with is Carlo, so at some point he was probably going to have a look and see what they could do together. Grizz, he thinks right now, is off a little bit. Having him play with Charlie will get him a little back on track. They tend to play well together. Grizz Carlo pairing has been just average, according to Cassidy. Brandon's played some of his best hockey with Zdeno Chara in a shutdown role. So it's been a few years, obviously, since those two played together, but he can do that well. Hopefully it will get him back to where he needs to be. The pair right now hasn't been as strong as it could be, meaning the second pair. Matt Grzelcyk, I knew all too well because I have him in 2 fantasy leagues. He has not really produced offensively this season, tangibly anyways. Right now, he has 2 assists through 15 games, although he does have 35 shots on goal, which puts him in a tie with Taylor Hall for third most shots among Boston Bruins players. According to Money Puck, which is a very valuable advanced stats resource, among defensive pairs this season, Grzelcyk, McAvoy, they've played 100 minutes together through 15 games. They lead all defensive pairings with an astounding expected goals of 75%. Expected goals when they're on the ice is 6. When they're on the ice is 2. Expected goals per minute, 3.6, 1.2 against. Next best pairing is Andre Sekera and Hakanpää in Dallas. They've only played 75 minutes. They have a 72.2 expected goals. And then from there, there's only a handful with 60%. So clearly, far and away, Grzelcyk, McAvoy, the most effective pairing in the NHL. And, that's not necessarily a new thing. If you look at last season, they ranked in the top 6 as well, and especially with among pairings with really heavy minutes. They appeared together 342.7 minutes with a 64.9 expected goals, which again ranked them pretty high. I should add Riley Clifton, 99 minutes together last season, 68.8 expected goals. So that could be something that they look at if Zboril falters a bit here. Obviously, there is a bit of a question mark here with putting Forbort and Carlo together, but as Cassidy said, Carlo does have experience playing with a pretty big body. Forbort has shown to be a bit more mobile than Chara, of course. He had that 2-goal game the other night, which is obviously a bit of an outlier, but he has been decent so far. And I think, they could have something here if Forbort and Carlo can gel here in tonight's game. Now, I saw some people saying, put Zboril on the top pair with McAvoy. Not a bad idea, but of course you have to factor in that Zboril is shifting over to the right side, and not everyone is prepared for that at this point. Grzelcyk, McAvoy, again, they have a long history together dating back to their time at BU, and they have been one of the most offensively dynamic pairings over the past couple of seasons in the NHL. And of course, if you're driving play in one direction, you're keeping the puck away from your goaltender on the other end of the ice. Grzelcyk said, we have a lot of chemistry going back to college. So when he's out there with McAvoy, they have that attack mentality, get a little bit more of that time playing with him, and hopefully that continues throughout the rest of the year. Derek Forbort of Brandon Carlo, he said they have a similar game. Should be pretty easy to know what the other is doing out there. Just keep it simple, hard, make easy plays, and be hard to play against. He's gotten quite a few shifts with him when they're up a couple goals or when they're switching things up, when they're down and want more offense. Riley's Zboril have been a solid pairing since this past weekend. Cassidy, of course, has been quite pleased with their transitional game on the breakout. They really liked that pair. He said they've added some good transitions, puck movement, defended hard. Everything they've asked Mike to do, he's done. Zboril has gone in and been consistent. Don't want to mess with one if we don't have to. So, there's flipping Zboril over to the right side, and it's been effective so far. I've said quite a few times that I don't really see Clifton as a regular 82-game guy option on the blue line. He's a perfectly fine 7th defenseman coming off the bench. And I'm really interested to see what these defensive pairings can accomplish against the Buffalo Sabres. And we'll get more into the Sabres here in a moment. But it should be a good jumping off point for these new defensive pairings for sure. In net, it'll be Linus Ullmark making the start against his former club. He made his Bruins debut against Buffalo back in October with 35 saves and a 4-1 win. So hopefully he can keep that going. Cassidy said the Bruins' top line of Marchand, Bergeron, Pastrnak has not supported each other well enough on the breakout, leading to some overall issues with their offensive game. He said he thinks their line is circling too much in general. When they're on, they're getting those bang-bang plays into the slot. Their puck support hasn't been where it typically is. If it's not that way through the neutral zone or on the breakouts, they don't get through as clean. So maybe you're not getting those attacks that they'd maybe get. So, kind of the rare, not call out, but, questioning that top line and expecting more out of them. And hopefully they can clean that up here in tonight's game against the Buffalo Sabres. Before we get to some more for this game, a quick word about Built Bar. Thanksgiving's tomorrow. I love Thanksgiving. Up here in Canada, we had it in October, but it's got all the great food, the treats. Maybe you want a yummy dessert, but isn't so full of calories and sugar. It's the perfect time for Built Bars. It's the new holiday dessert. You can feast on something delicious and feel good about it. One slice of pie has around 300 calories, and that's on the low end. Most Built Bars, about 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, plenty of protein. You can replace coconut cream pie with a coconut Built Bar, cherry pie with cherry barcia, so on. Lots of great flavors to replace any pie. They're also covered in 100% chocolate, so it's a great treat, but you don't have to feel too bad about it. They also are having a Built Bar Black Friday event, so be sure to check built.com. Use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. There's new surprises all month. Limited time flavors arriving at built.com regularly, so check the site often. Again, I want to thank you for making Locked On Boston Bruins your first listen every day, free and available on all platforms and YouTube. So please subscribe in both the audio and video forms. That would be greatly appreciated. So the overall lineup for tonight, Trent Frederick was out there yesterday practicing in full gear. Doesn't look like he'll draw into the lineup just yet, as the new look fourth line of Anton Bleed, Thomas Nosek, and Curtis Lazar has been fairly effective in recent games. So that trio will stay together. Actually, there's really no changes up front. Jake DeBrusk, Eric Howla, Craig Smith on the third line. Taylor Hall, Charlie Coyle, Nick Foligno on the second line, and then Brad Marchand, Patrice Bergeron, and David Pastrnak. I would like to see and hope to see Taylor Hall pick up his game a little bit. Again, he only has 4 goals, 2 of which have been scored into an empty net. I believe one of those came against the Sabres in his first game against his former club, for whom he played for a short time. And be nice to see him get going here tonight. The defensive pairings we already talked about, as well as the starting goalie, Linus Ullmark. Now, the Buffalo Sabres, I should add, aren't a team to be taken super lightly. They got off to a pretty strong start this season. They faltered a bit in recent weeks, recent days. They now sit in the bottom half of the Atlantic Division, as we talked about yesterday in the power rankings, 7-9-2 through 18 games, a -8 goal differential, but they can put the puck in the net. They do have some pretty good offensive players. They're led in scoring right now by Tage Thompson. That's kind of surprising. I didn't think that he was their top player right now. He was acquired in the Ryan O'Reilly trade from the St. Louis Blues, a 26th overall pick back in 2016. First overall pick a couple of years ago, Rasmus Dahlin. He has 12 points through 18 games. And Jeff Skinner, Kyle Okposo, they're kind of rebounding after some tough seasons. Colin Miller has 11 points through 18 games. Our old friend who was picked by the Vegas Golden Knights in the expansion draft. When it comes to goaltending, not their strong suit. Not quite sure who will be starting tonight, but they have Craig Anderson, Dustin Tokarski, and Aaron Dell on the roster right now. Looking at daily face-off, it looks as though the projected starter will be Tokarski. He is 3-4-2 on the season with a .900 save percentage, so he's very beatable for sure. What's going to be key for the Bruins in this one is, again, not being too fancy, not trying to make that extra play, getting the puck on net, attacking the net, and not making any mistakes that the Sabres can capitalize on, because they do have some fairly talented offensive players who can make you pay if you do indeed drop the ball. So, that's pretty much the scene heading into tonight's game. It would be nice for the Bruins to, I know it's not really a break. They do get tomorrow off. Everybody gets tomorrow off, but it would be nice for them to head into Friday afternoon's game against the New York Rangers with a bit of positive momentum on their side. After that, they host the Canucks, the Red Wings to round out the month of November. So, real opportunity here to pick up a lot of points before the end of the month to solidify their spot as one of the top teams in the Atlantic Division, to separate themselves from the Metro opposition that they have to be wary of in the wildcard race. So really important games here for the Boston Bruins beginning tonight. You have to beat. The way I look at it is, if you lose to a team that is well above you in the standings, it's understandable. If you lose to teams who are well below you in the standings, that is very disappointing. It's a bit of a reductionist way to look at it, but pretty simple. And the Bruins, I think, have a real opportunity here to separate themselves from the pack of teams fighting for that final wildcard spot or in wildcard contention at any rate. So, that's the scene heading into tonight's game. Do follow Locked NHL Bruins. I'll post the official lineup when it's announced, and I'll be watching this game as well. So if you want to follow along with my tweets, primarily at Ian C. McLaren during game times. If you want to put some money on tonight's game, I recommend BetOnline. It's Thanksgiving. We all know what that means. Football. But there's, of course, a full slate of hockey games tonight, as well as on Friday. Nothing goes better with football than turkey and betting. BetOnline has you covered all holiday season. More props, odds, and lines than ever before. Your number one spot for all sports action this Thanksgiving. Head to their new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive a 50% welcome bonus with promo code LOCKEDON. It's not just football. They have you covered for all pro and college hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, even your favorite Vegas casino games. The fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. They're stuffed with deals this Thanksgiving over at BetOnline. And if you're looking for your second listen today, I recommend the Locked On Bets podcast, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs, hosted by your boy Q with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling, free and available on all platforms. Let's take a look at some news and notes from around the NHL. First of all, I want to say last night I went to see Ghostbusters Afterlife with our middle son, who's 9 years old. We very much enjoyed it. Ghostbusters was one of my favorite movies as a kid. I watched it religiously, almost weekly. And this kind of reboot is, reminiscent, I guess, of perhaps the first new Star Wars movie, where they're kind of representing a lot of the elements from the first film, a lot of nostalgic elements, a lot of, casting similarities. And I really enjoyed it. It's in the trailer, but the little Stay Puft Marshmallow Man was a highlight for sure. But strong performances from Paul Rudd, Carrie Coon. I could watch them in anything anyways. The kids were entertaining. And the nostalgia of seeing the old cast was pretty cool as well. So do check that out if you're on the fence. Yesterday, it was announced that Zdeno Chara placed in COVID-19 protocols. He tested positive. He's the 7th player on the Islanders to enter protocols. He tested positive on Monday. He joins, a whole bunch of Islanders on that list, and they'll also be without Brock Nelson for 2 to 4 weeks because of a lower body injury. So Islanders were already off to a tough start, 5-8-2. We saw the Senators pause operations last week because of a COVID outbreak. Lou Lamoriello, GM, said there's no decision yet as to whether they're going to pause games, but they're preparing to play tonight, and they will be in action, I believe, tonight against the who are the Islanders supposed to play tonight? The New York Rangers. So a big divisional rivalry, and they'll be without a whole bunch of players for that one. So it kind of goes along with the Olympic talk. A lot of people talking about the jerseys being released right now. Canada, Finland, USA releasing some pretty interesting jerseys. And we'll see if indeed they'll be able to participate. COVID really is kind of clouding that possibility at the moment. Evander Kane, some news on him. He is almost ready to return from his suspension for faking his COVID vaccine certificate. Perhaps the Sharks will be willing to retain some salary in a trade for him. He has 4 years and $28 million remaining on his contract. Clearly doesn't seem to be too welcome back in San Jose. I saw a quote from Thomas Hertl the other day saying he hasn't talked to him, doesn't really care to reach out at all. So yeah, it'll be something to see if he lands with another team and what exactly comes of that situation. Elsewhere around the NHL, what is going on? The New Jersey Devils unveiled their third jersey yesterday, designed by former Devils great Martin Brodeur, black jersey with jersey on the front. Quite the reaction around the NHL, pretty entertaining. And the Devils responded well by releasing a photo of a hat that says "hat" on it as a possible, addition to to the collection. Anyways, that is it for today's episode. Nice short one for you today as we get ready for tonight's game against the Sabres. I know tomorrow is Thanksgiving for all you American listeners. For me, just a normal day, so I will be posting a new episode tomorrow. So if you're looking at a distraction from family, then you can pop your earbuds in or jump on YouTube and check that out. Tonight, I'll be watching the game, obviously. Excited to check out Hawkeye on Disney Plus, and also continuing through Money Heist. I'm at the end of the first part, and excited to see what happens there. I believe there's new episodes dropping in a couple weeks. Don't think I'll be able to catch up to that, but still definitely plugging away at that. So yeah, that's it for tonight's preview. Grzelcyk, McAvoy, Reunited. I hope they stay together for the game and for the foreseeable future. Again, one of the top pairings in the NHL without a doubt. So yeah, happy Wednesday, friends. Happy Thanksgiving Eve. If this is the end of your work week, I hope you enjoy it. And talk to you again tomorrow on Locked On Boston Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day.